The galaxy holds its breath. A single meeting could change everything. The fate of the Foundation, the secrets of the past, and the plans of the future all hinge on one person. Hari Seldon is about to enter the story, and no one is prepared for what comes next. Tensions rise, alliances shift, and the very path of humanity trembles. This is the moment fans have been waiting for, and the consequences will be unforgettable. The air was heavy with tension as the Foundation's leaders gathered in the Grand Council chamber. Every face carried a mixture of fear and curiosity. For weeks, whispers of a mysterious arrival had spread across the galaxy. Now, the moment had come. The doors opened slowly and the room fell into silence. All eyes turned toward the figure stepping inside. Hari Seldon, the legendary mind behind the Seldon plan, had arrived. He moved with calm purpose, yet there was an aura of authority around him that made even the most confident officials pause. Every step he took seemed to echo through the chamber, making hearts pound and minds race. The council members exchanged nervous glances. Some tried to appear composed, hiding the ripple of uncertainty that Hari's presence caused. Others couldn't contain their unease. He was not just another visitor, he was the key to the future, and no one could fully predict what his appearance meant. Hari's eyes scanned the room, sharp and calculating. It felt as though he could see every hidden thought, every secret doubt. His reputation had preceded him, yet seeing him in person was different. His presence carried weight, and with it, a silent warning that nothing would remain the same. As he spoke, his voice was calm but firm. The words seemed simple, but each carried layers of meaning. "The time has come to understand the path ahead," he said. Murmurs spread among the council, some nodding, others frowning. Even those who had read the Seldon plan were struck by the gravity in his tone. Every sentence he spoke made it clear that the choices they had made and the paths they were about to take could lead to triumph or disaster. Hari's entrance was not just a meeting, it was the start of a chain of events that would test loyalty, courage, and the very essence of their civilization. Outside the council chamber, tension built across the Foundation's corridors. Guards moved silently, knowing that every eye was watching, every ear listening. Rumors had fueled fear and hope alike. Some whispered that Hari's arrival might bring salvation, while others feared it could trigger chaos. As he began to outline his intentions, it became clear that the meeting was not just about plans and predictions, it was about power, responsibility, and the fragile thread that held their world together. Every word Hari spoke was calculated, designed to probe their understanding, challenge their assumptions, and ignite a spark of change that no one could ignore. By the time the first hour of the meeting passed, the council was both enlightened and unsettled. Hari Seldon had spoken carefully, yet each idea hinted at deeper truths, hidden dangers, and unseen opportunities. The room was filled with a strange mix of awe and anxiety. Everyone sensed that this meeting would become a defining moment in history, one that would be remembered for generations. The seeds of future conflict and resolution were planted, and no one could predict how they would grow. As the council members left the chamber, they carried with them not just the memory of a meeting, but the weight of choices that could shape the fate of humanity itself. No one had expected the meeting to feel like a storm quietly brewing. As Hari Seldon's words settled into the minds of the council, a strange unease spread across the room. It was not fear alone, there was anticipation, suspicion, and the faintest trace of awe. Some council members shifted in their seats, adjusting to the weight of his presence. Their eyes darted from one colleague to another, trying to read hidden intentions, to guess who might resist or who might embrace the coming changes. The atmosphere was thick with unspoken questions. How much did anyone truly understand about the Seldon plan? And even if they did, could they trust themselves or each other to act correctly when the moment came? Hari did not speak loudly, yet every word carried precision, cutting through the noise of doubt. "The future is not fixed," he said, his voice steady, almost serene. "Every decision shapes what comes next, yet not every outcome can be controlled. You will face choices that will test your judgment, your loyalty, and your courage." A hush fell over the chamber. Even the most hardened officials felt the subtle tremor of uncertainty in their hearts. He was reminding them, without accusation, that the world they thought they controlled was fragile, like glass that could shatter with a single misstep. As the council absorbed his words, some began to whisper among themselves. Hidden motives surfaced like shadows in dim light. Certain leaders, who had long harbored ambition or doubt, glanced at each other with thinly veiled calculation. Their minds raced. Could this moment be turned to their advantage? Could Hari's arrival be used to shift power, secure influence, or even eliminate rivals? Meanwhile, others, loyal to the Foundation's ideals, felt a surge of responsibility. They understood that Seldon's presence was not just a threat or an opportunity, it was a call to act with integrity, to put the greater good above personal gain. The contrast between these two groups, visible and invisible, shaped the tension in the room like an invisible current threatening to pull everything under. Outside the chamber, whispers spread quickly through the corridors of the Foundation. Servants, guards, and lower-ranking officials shared fragments of what they had seen, each retelling twisted slightly, adding intrigue, fear, or hope. By the time word reached the outer wings, the entire complex was buzzing with unease. Rumors of secret alliances, hidden agendas, and the possibility of betrayal ignited discussions in hushed tones. Some feared that the meeting would spark conflict rather than cooperation. Others believed that this was the chance to witness history, to participate in something greater than themselves. Hari's quiet authority had not just commanded attention. It had set the entire organization on edge. Even within the chamber, subtle power struggles emerged. Eyes narrowed, hands clenched, and small gestures became loaded with meaning. A seemingly simple nod or frown could indicate a silent alliance or a hidden challenge. The tension was not dramatic in the way of loud shouting or immediate conflict. It was psychological, a careful dance of perception, influence, and strategic thought. Hari observed all of it with unwavering calm. It was as though he could see the motives lurking beneath every polite smile, the ambitions hidden behind each carefully controlled expression. This was more than a meeting. It was a silent examination of character, loyalty, and the ability to navigate a web of uncertainty. As the discussion continued, subtle cracks began to appear in long-standing assumptions. The Seldon plan, once thought predictable and absolute, now seemed a living puzzle, shaped by human choices, emotions, and errors. Each statement, each pause, each glance in the chamber carried weight. The council members realized that the real challenge was not only understanding Seldon's vision, but also understanding themselves and each other. In the delicate balance of power, knowledge, and morality, a single misstep could unravel everything. And as Hari looked toward the back of the room, eyes resting on those who had yet to speak, it became clear. Some truths would be revealed, some secrets exposed, and some alliances tested to their breaking point. By the end of the session, one felt entirely certain of what had occurred. There was no conclusion, no clear resolution. The meeting had ended, yet the tension remained, hanging in the air like an invisible weight. Some left with determination burning in their hearts, ready to act according to their principles. Others walked away with uncertainty, questioning loyalty, motives, and even their own decisions. Hari Seldon had arrived, and with him came the storm of possibility, conflict, and revelation. The galaxy had shifted, just slightly, but enough that every choice from now on would carry consequences far greater than anyone could yet imagine. The council chamber had emptied, but the weight of Hari Seldon's presence lingered like a shadow that refused to fade. Outside the doors, corridors hummed with whispers, but inside, a smaller, more intimate meeting was about to begin. A few of the Foundation's key leaders were invited to a private audience with Hari, those whose decisions would soon carry the heaviest consequences. The air was electric with uncertainty, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. Every step toward the private room echoed like a drumbeat in the minds of those who walked it, reminding them that this was no ordinary discussion. The future of the galaxy, their positions, their loyalties all teetered on the edge of what was about to happen. Hari entered the smaller room with the same calm, measured pace as before. His eyes scanned the few leaders present, not with judgment, but with something deeper and understanding that went beyond the surface of plans and politics. It was a look that seemed to reach inside the core of a person, probing for fears, ambitions, doubts, and hidden truths. The leaders exchanged uneasy glances, realizing that here, in this quiet room, there was nowhere to hide. The grandeur of the council chamber had shielded them before. Now, stripped of the crowd, every secret and every hesitation was exposed. Hari's presence was not just commanding, it was almost invasive, forcing honesty in a way that left no room for pretense. The conversation began carefully, almost innocuously. Hari asked questions that seemed simple at first about resources, logistics, and plans for the upcoming cycles. But each question carried weight, designed to reveal the thinking, priorities, and hidden motivations of each leader. One leader's hesitation, a brief pause, was enough for Hari to subtly probe deeper. Another's confident answer masked uncertainty, yet Hari's calm persistence gently exposed it. It was a delicate dance, a test of intellect and character disguised as routine discussion. With each exchange, tension rose, and the leaders realized that this was more than a conversation, it was a silent evaluation, and their every word, glance, and gesture was under scrutiny. Meanwhile, outside the room, subtle currents of power were moving. Some leaders who had not been invited whispered among themselves, plotting and speculating. They debated whether this private meeting was a chance to gain favor or a trap that could cost them everything. The dynamics of the Foundation shifted. In real time, alliances forming and fracturing as decisions were weighed not just by strategy, but by instinct, fear, and ambition. Hari's influence stretched beyond the room, rippling outward, shaping thoughts and actions without ever lifting a hand. His presence had become a force that was invisible, yet undeniably powerful, and those who felt its pull could not ignore it. Inside, the dialogue took a sharper edge. Hari subtly challenged assumptions, bringing up historical patterns, decisions that had been made in secrecy, and the consequences that had been overlooked. The leaders began to feel the pressure of unseen forces shaping the conversation, forces of cause and effect, chance and inevitability that they could not control. One leader, previously confident in their strategy, found themselves questioning every choice they had made. Another, who had sought to manipulate the situation for personal gain, now faced the quiet realization that their plans might unravel in ways they could not anticipate. Hari spoke without force, without anger, yet every word carried a weight that unsettled even the most composed minds. As the session drew on, it became clear that the private meeting was not simply about sharing plans. It was about awakening awareness, forcing each person to confront the reality that the future was fragile, and that their decisions would ripple across the galaxy in ways they could not yet see. Tensions, loyalties, ambitions, and fears collided silently in that room, and every subtle glance, every carefully chosen word became part of a larger, invisible chess game. By the time the leaders left, their minds were racing. Some felt enlightened, ready to act in accordance with Hari's vision. Others felt trapped, aware of how exposed they had been, and uncertain of how to proceed without jeopardizing everything. Outside, the corridors buzzed with speculation, the rumors growing faster than any official word. The private meeting had left no clear conclusions, but it had ignited sparks that threatened to flare into conflict, cooperation, or both. Hari Seldon's influence had taken root, quiet but undeniable, and the galaxy had already begun to shift beneath the surface. Every choice, every hesitation, every hidden motive now carried weight, and the leaders realized that the true test had only just begun. The meeting had ended, but the unseen forces Hari had set in motion were already moving, shaping the story of the Foundation in ways that no one could yet predict. The meeting had ended, yet the echoes of Hari Seldon's words lingered in every corner of the Foundation. In the quiet corridors, leaders walked with unease, their minds heavy with questions they could not answer. Every glance seemed to carry hidden meaning, every whispered conversation seemed loaded with suspicion. What had begun as a simple introduction had transformed into a subtle earthquake, shaking confidence, alliances, and assumptions alike. The air felt charged, as if the galaxy itself had shifted slightly, and no one could predict which way it would tilt. Some leaders moved quickly to consolidate power. They whispered to trusted aides, planning maneuvers, weighing options, and reconsidering old strategies. The arrival of Hari Seldon had revealed vulnerabilities they had long ignored, and instinct screamed that those weaknesses could not be left exposed. Each decision felt heavier than the last, every move fraught with unseen consequences. Even minor choices, who to trust, who to watch, who to ignore, carried a weight that could ripple across sectors, affecting lives and fates far beyond their immediate vision. Fear and ambition intertwined in ways that were invisible but undeniable, shaping the future even before action had begun. Meanwhile, others felt a strange clarity. Hari's presence, though unsettling, had sparked a new awareness, a recognition that their roles were not just positions of authority, but responsibilities that stretched across generations. For these few, the meeting had illuminated paths previously unseen, offering insight into the fragile threads holding the galaxy together. They understood that choices now would define outcomes for centuries, that hesitation could be as dangerous as error. In private, they began to prepare, quietly considering alliances, contingency plans, and the delicate balance between duty and survival. The weight of knowledge pressed upon them, yet for the first time, some felt a sense of purpose beyond personal ambition. Yet even as awareness spread, uncertainty deepened. The Seldon plan, once regarded as a blueprint of inevitable outcomes, now seemed more like a living puzzle, one shaped by human action, ambition, and error. Leaders debated its interpretations in hushed tones, fearful that the wrong opinion might reveal their ignorance or weakness. Some feared that Hari's foresight was so precise that nothing could be hidden, while others wondered whether his plan left room for rebellion, for choice, or for unexpected consequences. The tension between inevitability and free will became palpable, a silent battle playing out in every thought and every cautious step outside the walls of the council chambers. The whispers had grown into murmurs, and the murmurs into speculation. Citizens, soldiers, and aides discussed possibilities, unaware of the private machinations at play. Fear mingled with curiosity. Some wondered whether the meeting was the start of salvation, while others predicted chaos. Rumors spread like wildfire, each version more dramatic than the last, reflecting the uncertainty and tension that had now become the undercurrent of daily life within the Foundation. Every eye seemed to search for signs, every mind for hints of what Hari Seldon's arrival truly meant. As the day drew on, subtle changes became visible. Alliances shifted quietly, decisions were delayed, and subtle power plays emerged. Leaders who had once been confident found themselves second-guessing old strategies, unsure of whether loyalty or ambition should guide them. Those with ambition now faced the reality that Hari's presence had altered the rules, introduced variables they could not control, and exposed weaknesses they had thought invisible. Trust became scarce, and suspicion became a shield. The shadows of uncertainty stretched across the Foundation, touching every corridor, every office, and every hidden chamber. By evening, the consequences of the meeting were undeniable. Even without a single overt act of rebellion or confrontation, the galaxy had changed. The seeds planted during that quiet audience were beginning to grow, invisible yet powerful. Each decision now carried weight, each alliance was tested, and every hidden motive had been subtly exposed. Hari Seldon had not only entered the story, he had shifted its trajectory. The Foundation stood on the edge of transformation, a delicate balance between order and chaos, insight and fear. And as the night deepened, one truth became clear to all who had witnessed the meeting. The future was no longer predictable. The meeting had ended, but its shadow would stretch far into the days to come, shaping the destiny of every person who walked the corridors of the Foundation.